Hello, hello, D4911 here, and today we are going to do a live stream instead of a proper video. So, um, let me know if everything is working okay. I'm trying to get everything set up. I'm still a bit of a noob at doing live streams and everything, and especially doing it on YouTube Gaming. But let me know how it goes, let me know how it's looking, let me know if the sound's okay, and if you're there, if you're watching, say hi, and I'll say hi back, basically. So, as you can probably guess from the title of this live stream, we're just going to do a nice, gentle VFR flight this weekend. You know, it's decent weather here in the UK, and I didn't feel like doing anything too strenuous, so we're just going to do a quick 1 hour, should be roughly 1 hour VFR flight from Oban on the west coast of Scotland up to good old Inverness. And we're going to be flying along the Great Glen Fault, which I will talk about a little bit further into the flight. So, let me just make sure that everything is working here. According to YouTube, everything is fine. So, if you're watching, please comment, let me know. It would be good to chat with you. Okay, so, um, right, let's jump into the simulator and get going. So, the plane that you have in front of you here is the A2A Cessna 172. It's a fantastic aircraft, a fantastic little VFR aircraft, and it is so much more immersive than the default Cessna 172. And hopefully, I'll be able to sort of demonstrate that to you guys during this flight. Um, so what I'm going to do is I'm just going to start off with just a pre-flight check. It's basically just going to involve walking around the plane, just making sure it's all ready for flying, and then we will get up in the air and we will get going. Working well, and first comment, thank you very much, good to have you along. So, let's jump into the plane and get a look at this. So one of the benefits of the A2A Cessna is that it has built-in checklists. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to bring that up just now and start working through that. And I can't find it. Alright, no, first things first, we need to make sure that we're all fueled up and balanced and everything. So we've got 15.6 gallons in the left wing, 14.8 in the right. So drop the left wing a tiny bit. Yeah, that's a bit more balanced, good. So we've got plenty of fuel for the flight. And where are my checklists? I can never remember. There we go. Right. Okay, so let's get the plane ready to fly. So airplane weight and balance is what I just checked there. So parking brake. Whoop. Parking brake is set. That's this lever down here. Control wheel lock. That's removed, so you can kind of lock the controls in this plane. That's this kind of tab here that's been removed, so that's good. So ignition and avionics. So ignition is off, avionics is off. Master switch on. Okay, thought I could do one each switch individually. Never mind. So check the fuel quantity. So we had 16 gallons. That's about right. That's good. So static pressure alternate source valve is that small red one there. That's pushed in, which is off. Annunciator panel test. Drag that up. Everything's lighting up. Good. Fuel selector valve, both. Fuel shut off, in. Flaps extend. Okay, there we go. And master switch now comes off. Set the trim for takeoff. So we'll just roll that back slightly. There we go. Right, so next thing would be engine started. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do my walk around just now, and there's a really cool feature in this aircraft where if you press that, I believe, not that one, always get that wrong, there we go. So what you can do is you can click on points around the aircraft and sort of do a workaround, and this plane is considered to be a trainer plane because everything that you can do with this simulation of the plane is what you would expect to do, or what you would be expected to do with a real Cessna 172, which is really, really, really cool. So, so what we'll do is we'll just have a look around and make sure that everything is good on the outside of the plane for flying. So, pitot tube cover. I can remove that with this panel here. So the pitot cover is just like you'll see on aircraft which are parked up, they have like little red kind of covers and red like ribbons hanging from certain instruments. That's just to basically protect the instruments while they're on the ground. So we'll remove that. Pilot's operating handbook. I do have one somewhere. I did actually print out the whole like manual for this plane, but I got it somewhere. But never mind. I can do without it. You can see that the screen is fogging up. That's kind of normal. That's to be expected. It's not the simulation crashing or anything. That's the model the windscreen fogging up and stuff. So that's not a problem. That will all clear up when we get the engine running. So weight and balance checked. So basically this checklist is everything I've done already, but I'll go through it again just to be absolutely sure. So weight and balance has been checked. Parking brake is set. Control wheel lock has been removed. Ignition switch has been off. Inverness master. Yeah, so that's basically everything we've done already. So I'll click on the next arrow, and you see that the view jumps to outside of the plane. Actually, I missed a few bits there. Oh, I'm messing up already. Right, so yeah, because we have a few things that we need to do. So coming back here, so where are we? Ignition switch off. Avionics master off, which it is. Master switch on. Pitot heat on. That's what we need to check. So we need to make sure that the pitot tube is working normally. Avionics master switch on. So we should see one of these radios pop on. That's the autopilot there. And all of these other radios are turned off at the moment. I'm going to turn them on once the engine's running. Well, I'll do it now just so you can see what it looks like. There you go. So fuel quantity check, yep. Avionics master switch on. So that's checked off, that's checked off. Flaps P2E off. Yeah, so the only kind of thing that I forgot in that first kind of round of checking was the pitot heat there. Turn the batteries off, and then this. So you can see there's the pitot cover there, and if we click and hold, so you got a red circle there. That's basically representing that the pitot tube is hot. What the pitot heat does is it prevents any water which is inside the instrument from freezing up and then potentially causing problems. So that's why you have a pitot heat or a sort of anti-ice switches on aircraft. We'll move a bit further around the plane. You can see which one we're on because it's got the square. So we'll check the baggage compartment. Make sure that's locked so it doesn't go flying open in the air. So what we'll do is we'll remove the tie down from the rear wing. We'll check the joints. So again, this is why this is a brilliant trainer plane, is because it kind of shows you what you would be looking for on the actual aircraft. And I believe that the more you use this aircraft, the more you'll see like dirt accumulate on these joints, and they kind of represent the the kind of the degradation of the joints there. What is the estimated flight time? It'll be approximately an hour once we get up into the air. This pre-flight check should only take about another 5 minutes, if that, and then it will be starting the engine. I'll just need to check the weather here at Oban, but it's a relatively short flight from sort of the west coast of Scotland up to Inverness there. Check a few more joints there. You can see they're dirty, but they're all connected. They're all bolted together securely. And then last thing here we can check is the trim tab, just to make sure that that's kind of solid, which it is, and it's not moving about with any external pressure. So we'll check the right wing, so we'll just check the flap again, make sure that's not going anywhere, and then check a few of the joints. So again, all you would be checking on the real aircraft is just to make sure that everything is bolted in place securely and there's no like cracks or severe obvious severe damage to any of the joints or any of the moving parts there. So we'll check the aileron, and again you can see it shows you where you need to be looking. Everything is good there. Remove the tie down from this wing. Check the tyres. Now I can't really see the tyres properly because I've got these aerodynamic covers on them, but the chocks are in place, so I'll need to remove those. Okay, so we'll drain some fuel from the wing now, and that's fine, that's normal. So when you drain fuel, what you'll be looking for is any sort of debris or any dirt or um, discoloration of the fuel. So aviation fuel is blue in color, but you're just making sure that there's no like dirt or anything floating around in there as well. Um, the fuel looks clean, so you can be sure that all the fuel inside the tank is all fine and looks the same as well. We'll check the fuel meter there, so it's about 15 gallons. That's what we put in, which is good. We'll check the oil. Again, we've got sort of 7 quarts, so you're just checking to make sure you've got enough oil in the engine, and plus that the oil is a nice kind of golden colour as it is here, and it's not gone black or anything. So moving around to the front of the plane, we'll drain some more fuel out from near the engine, and you can see that's all clean. Check the nose for damage. I don't know if damage is modelled on this aircraft, but again, it's a trainer, so it helps you prepare for doing pre-flight checks in the real world rather than just doing it in the simulator. So we'll check all the sort of inlets there, make sure there's no birds nesting or anything. Check the static hole on the side there, which helps the instruments inside the plane work. Check the fuel on this side, so 15, so we're all balanced on both wings. Drain some more fuel from this wing, it's all clear. Check the tires on this side, again you can't really do that in the simulator. And then we'll move the tie down, make sure the stall warning there is clear, and then make sure the fuel drain off, which is just back there, is also clear. And then we'll check the aileron on this side. Check the flap. Check the connections. And that's the pre-flight done. So, I think the next thing will be to get rid of that. Bring that back up. And we'll get the engine started and get a move on, I think. So, before I do that, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to check the weather here at Oban and see what the weather is. Wind 350 at 7 knots. So the runway at Oban is 01 and 19. So we'll need to take off. So the wind is coming from 350. So for you guys it'll be sort of in this direction. So we'll need to take off towards the north. Pretty decent headwind there, and then we'll check the altimeter as well. So 1023 millibars, which is 30.21 inches. So close that. 30.221, so it's about there. Cool. Alright. We're fogging up a little bit, but that's fine. Once the engine starts, we'll get that sorted out. Right, so let's get the engine started. So throttle cracked, so we'll just put a little bit of throttle in there. Now I often mess up the startup for this, so you'll probably see me doing the things a little bit strangely, but don't worry about it, basically. So master battery switch on, beacon light on to warn anyone nearby that we're about to start the engines. So what we'll do is we'll switch the auxiliary fuel pump on. So that's basically just injecting a little bit of fuel into the engine. It'll just make starting up a bit easier. Propeller area clear. Well, we can't really see it, but there's no one else in the simulator, so shh, don't tell anyone. And then what I'll do is I'm going to put the mixture up a little bit, put the throttle up a little bit more, and start the engine. Hopefully it works. Yeah, there we go. Plug the headphones in so it's a bit quieter, so you guys can hear me okay. And then what we're looking to do is just keep the engine idling at about 1000 RPM. So it's about 1100 at the moment. I'll reduce the mixture as well, because we don't want to do something which is called fouling the spark plugs in the engine, because the engine in this plane is like a car engine. It's a piston engine, so it's got spark plugs, and if that didn't sound good. Did you hear the engine just kind of cough there a little bit? That might not be good. Hey Roman, how's it going? Good to have you along. Right. With the engine off. Can you hear the engine coughing there? That's a bad sign, basically. Um, Never mind. We can sort that out in a minute, hopefully, if I remember how to do it properly. Anyway, navigation lights. So, switch all the lights on. We'll get all our radios and bits and pieces on. We're not going to be using them, but we'll get everything on, switched on anyway. I've got the autopilot set to 3,000 feet. I'm not going to be using the autopilot at all during this flight. It's all going to be completely manual, completely done by hand. For a change, because normally I kind of fly semi-manually, so I'll have the autopilot controlling altitude and heading, but this is just going to be purely hands-on flying. Okay, so we are just about ready to go. Before takeoff, so flight controls, so just make sure that's all working. If we have a look behind, we can check the actual control surfaces. There we go, brilliant. So, fuel quantity is still normal. Now, what I need to do is do a run-up check, which basically just tests the power of the engine, just to make sure that it is producing power and running smoothly, which you can probably hear it is not the case at the moment. But I should be able to clear that if I remember how to do it. I think I know how to do it. But let's have a go at this. So, fuel mixture rich. You can hear the engine revs pick up a little bit, which is fine. So, throttle up to 1800 RPM. That's a bit too high. So, we'll check the mags. Slight drop in the engine, that's fine. That's normal. And then we'll try the right side now. Oh, they're both okay. Maybe I lead it out a little bit too much. But anyway, all the engine instruments here are within normal acceptable levels, which is fine. There's nothing illuminated on this panel, so we're all good. So bring the throttle back to idle. Hey Mojo, good to have you along, and welcome to the channel, Roman. Glad you caught me while I was live. I don't usually live stream. This is just something kind of new that I'm trying for a Saturday. Rather than doing a proper video, I'm just trying to live stream instead, see how it goes. I seem to have quite a few viewers though, so hello everyone, good to have you along. Right, so that was our kind of pre-flight power check. So the engine seems to be running smooth now, so that's all good. But what I'll do is I'll just reduce the fuel mixture a little bit, because we need to taxi down the runway, turn around and then take off basically. So radios and lights are set. I'm not going to be using air traffic control for this, so I'm not going to worry about radios or nothing. It's a VFR flight, so I don't need to set any navigation in. Elevator trim is already set, we've done that earlier. Wing flaps, I'll bring them back to 10 degrees because I did a test flight yesterday and there's a mountain at the end of the runway, so I need all the lift I can get to get over the top of that after takeoff. Right. Okay, takeoff. So, Oban, it's only a small little airport, so we'll not worry about other traffic or contacting air traffic control at all. But what we need to do is we need to taxi out onto the runway just now, and then make our way down to the far side on the left. So we'll do that just now. Because we're going to taxi straight onto the runway, I'm going to put the strobe lights on now and also taxi lights. It's the daytime, so I could probably get away with doing landing lights. No one's watching. Oh, not many people are watching. Okay, let's have a look. So we'll just reduce the throttle ever so slightly, so we don't pick up too much speeds during the taxi. True Tutorials. Hello dude, how's it going? Where did I get this add-on? Well, I've got two add-ons here. The plane is from A2A Simulations. It's their Cessna 172 trainer aircraft. and it's a fantastic little aircraft. I cannot praise it enough. I don't get paid to say that, by the way. It's just a much more immersive aircraft than the default Cessna 172 that you get with the basic game. The scenery here is Oban Airport, which is EGEO, and this is from Sim 720. They're a small developer for FSX, but they've worked with Orbex to develop some payware sort of airfields in Scotland, and also there's a few, I think, in for around Germany. I think they've got a couple of airports up in the sort of northern Europe as well, and also there's a couple in America. I do know that they've worked with, as I said, with the Orbex, and they've done some sort of scenery for Orbex as well. So yeah, so the scenery is from Sim 720. That's at Oban. They also done Inverness Airport, so I thought it would be good to fly from Oban to Inverness, because I've got the payware scenery for both of these aircrafts, or both of these airports. Sorry. Why are you not doing the run-up at designated run-up area? Because I didn't realise there was a designated run-up area here at Oban. But yeah, I mean, it's a quiet airport. No one's watching, hopefully. So we'll just spin it round. I need the runway here. What I'll do is I'll just get lined up. Do you use a joystick for controlling FSX? Yes, I do. I use a Logitech Extreme 3D Pro joystick. It's quite an old joystick, but I don't see a need to get a new one at the moment. And I use this joystick for flying, little GA aircraft, and also jets as well. It doesn't really hinder me in any way. Obviously, if you want a more immersive experience, you can pick up like a full proper yoke system, but I'm fine with a joystick basically. Yeah, I wouldn't recommend flying FSX with a keyboard. It's really difficult. Right, so you can see there, I've just looked up, and that's the mountain that's in our way. Now, because this aircraft does pick up off the runway really well, we can fly directly over the top of it. If I'm struggling for any reason, all I can do is just simply turn to the left and hopefully not crash. So for takeoff, flaps should be set to 10 degrees. Yep, which they are. Mixture will set to rich now. You can hear the engine pick up again, that's fine. And we'll lift the nose wheel at 55 knots. Okay, ready to go? Because I am. Hang on, have I set all my lights up and stuff? Yeah, I have. Yeah, good. Forgot about that. Right. So, parking brake off. And away we go. So all the engine temps and everything are good. 55 knots. The thing's going to pretty much take off itself, so I'm just going to help it along there. And then we're going to aim to just climb at about 70 knots. So you just lift the nose or drop the nose as needed to keep the aircraft going at 70 knots. And then once I get over this mountain, I'm going to retract the flaps, because the flaps give me more lift at the moment, and obviously more lift is better when you're close to the ground. I probably shouldn't be flying over the mountain at all, if I'm going to be honest, but I like to live dangerously. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to climb up to about 3,000 feet, which is a good altitude. We're not going to be up in the clouds. We're going to stay below the clouds at 3,000 feet, and we're going to be close enough to the ground to make it look interesting. Have a look there. You can see how close that mountain is there, or hill, whatever you want to call it. just keeping the aircraft at about 70 knots there. I just thought I need to set the barometric pressure on the autopilot here as well. So it was 3018, wasn't it? There we go. That should be okay. Because the barometric pressure on the altimeter and the autopilot are different, so you just have to set them up properly there. Okay, so I think we're just about over that mountain now. So what I'll do is I'll just drop the nose so we can pick up a bit of speed and reduce the flaps. So I am seeing your comments. I'll get to them in a second. Let me just get up into the cruise. We'll get trimmed out, get settled down, and then we'll be good to go. So as I said, I'm going to fly this this journey completely manually, so there's not going to be any autopilot dealing with the heading or the altitude. Everything is going to be just trimmed, and me making small adjustments to the heading there just to keep us going in a straight line. So that's 2,900. So I'll start leveling off now. Bring the throttle back slightly. So I'll keep the engine running at about 2,100 RPM. Should give us a cruise speed of between 110 knots and 100 knots. So try and trim this out now. So this kind of stretch of water that we have in front of us just now is Loch Linnie. I had to look at my notes there. Loch Linnie. So this is still on the west coast of Scotland just now. We'll be passing over a couple more lochs as we head up to Inverness, but just a little bit of sort of a little bit of geography for you there. Right. Just want to. I'm just keeping an eye on that vertical speed at the moment. So you can see that kind of stretch of water heading up in this direction. This is where we're going. Okay, comments. Thinking of buying a HOTAS for FSX. Do you think it's a good idea? Yeah, HOTASes are quite good. Because you've got like everything on your fingertips there. Basically, any control that you need, you can do it. The idea of a HOTAS is to be able to do everything you need without taking your hands off the controls, and I've been tempted to pick one up myself, so I think yeah, it's a good idea. So I would recommend it. I haven't got a HOTAS myself, so I can't recommend any, but yeah, for flying in a flight simulator, they're definitely worth considering. How do you know when and how much to adjust the fuel mixture? In this plane, I can actually get away with not adjusting it below 3,000, well, up to about 3,000 feet. Above 3,000 feet, you can adjust it. I think the checklist here even says so. Yeah, mixture, rich, lean, above 3,000 feet for maximum RPM. I'm not going to worry about it, but I'll try and show you once we kind of get established going up this this fault line here. It's just nice making a gentle turn around to the right. I'll try and show you, because the way I do it is by checking the exhaust gas temperature gauge here. Because the more you kind of lean it out, the temperature will rise. But if you lean it out too much, the temperature will start to fall again. So you kind of want to get the temperature at its highest point. That's how I usually do it. I don't know if that's the proper way of doing it, or I mean, I know people do it in different ways. But that's just how I would do it. But I'll try and show you that if it works. I'm not sure if it will at this altitude, but we'll have a look. Also like to know that. Yeah, so I said I'll have a look at that for you. i5 980 GTX, 8 gigs of RAM.
yeah, you should be okay with that. That's a pretty decent, beefy setup. Um, what it might be worth doing is look at the recommended specs for Dovetail's new flight school game, because they're using an updated version of, I think, the FSX engine. Um, I'm not planning on buying the game. I'm not planning on doing any videos on it at the moment. Um, but look at Dovetail's new flight school simulator, because that seems to be that'll be the more, or that'll be kind of the most modern simulator that's released. Also look at Prepare Lockheed Martin's Prepared, or Prepare 3D. Look at the recommended specs for that as well, because that's kind of, again, that's a beefed up version of the original FSX engine. So that might give you a kind of a guideline as to what kind of specs or what components you want for your computer there. Do I use any add-ons? Yep. I mean, as I said, this plane is an add-on which I use. I've got scenery from Sim 720. They've got a few airfields, so I've got a lot of their payware sceneries. I also play with the Aerosoft Airbus. I've got the A318, 319, 320 and 321. Aerosoft were doing a bundle package on those Airbuses for about, I think it was about €55 when I bought it. So you can get all 4 aircraft for €55, which is pretty cool. And plus the Airbuses are a really good plane to learn how to fly commercial airliners. So I definitely recommend those. Can you guys let me know if the stream is running okay? Because I've just seen a warning pop up on my kind of YouTube dashboard there, saying that there was a bit of trouble. So yeah, my broadcasting software says it's running fine, but YouTube's throwing up errors. So yeah, let me know if there's any issues there. Yeah, I mean, streaming to YouTube, I've had a few issues with it in the past, so I haven't quite got things exactly right yet with it. But if you guys can give me feedback, let me know how it's running. I would really appreciate that. There you go. A little view of Scottish Mountains there. Stream's okay, it's running great, it's perfect, good, thank you, I appreciate that help there. Is this VFR or IFR? This is VFR, so this is purely flying on what I can see out of the window. Coming from Scotland, being born and raised in Scotland, I kind of know the lay of the land, so to speak. Like, I recognise this line of lochs that we're flying along just now. I recognise, the sort of the scenery. I know that over here we've got Ben Nevis, which is the highest mountain in the UK, which I've been up. I have climbed it about 5 years ago. Me and my dad climbed it. It's about 4,000 feet, I think. So I know that that's kind of over on that side of the plane. So this, I mean, it's quite a straightforward flight. It's just basically a straight line from Oban to Inverness along this kind of line, this like line of lochs here, which is known as the Great Glen Fault. Sorry, God, I've never had so many comments. Thrustmaster T-Flight, good choice. Yeah, I've not seen the Thrustmaster, but if you say it's good value for money, then I believe you. Do I use Rex 4? No, I've got Rex Essentials plus Overdrive. That's what I use for environment. Oh, sorry, I completely forgot about environmental add-ons. Yeah, so I've got Rex Essentials for environment, so that's doing my clouds, like my cloud textures. The ground textures you can see will be, I think, Ground Environment X, and the sort of the mesh, the actual shape of the land is being dealt with by Ultimate Terrain X. So the shape of the land is dealt with by Ultimate Terrain X. The actual kind of graphics, the paint, what you can see the land as is Ground Environment Extreme, and the kind of weather effects are Rex Essentials. and the actual weather itself is being dealt with by Active Sky Next. So Active Sky Next is telling the simulator where to put all the clouds in that, and Rex Essentials is, it's got the clouds textures there. Stream's running fine. Good. Thank you. Thank you for letting me know, guys. That helps me a lot. I changed a couple of settings from my last live stream. I did like a little test live stream a little while ago, flying the Airbus A319, and that was just like a completely spontaneous flight. But I had a little bit of trouble with that, so I changed a few settings on my end, and hopefully that's all running okay now. So that little beeping you could hear just then was just the autopilot there, because you can see they're actually climbing a little bit now, because I believe that we're flying into a headwind, a slight headwind, so anytime we get gusts of wind, that just kind of pushes the plane up a little bit, which is fine. All we need to do is just retrim, get the plane coming back down a little bit, and that'll be fine. How many FPS do I get? The FPS is... I'm not sure, because I had a lot of trouble with... because I used to record with NVIDIA Shadowplay, and I used to have the FPS counter running through that on the top of my screen, but yeah, Shadowplay and FSX hate each other. I was having so many troubles, so many problems, sorry, getting the even starting the simulator with Shadowplay installed, so I had to uninstall it, and so now I don't know what the FPS is. I think if I press Shift Z, there we go. So it's telling me that I'm getting between 50 and 60 frames at the moment. But obviously, when you're at an airport or when you're flying a bigger plane, the frame rates will drop. Usually, I can keep it about 30 frames per second if I'm flying a bigger plane, or if I'm at an airport. The lowest I kind of tend to have consistently is maybe about 20, but at the moment it's doing quite well. But I do need to kind of uninstall my simulator and kind of just wipe nuke my computer and then just do it again there. Video is lagging behind the audio. Is anyone else getting that problem? Let me know if it is, if they are. Doesn't seem to be lagging. B787. I think, isn't there a big developer releasing the 787 soon? I'm sure. I heard somewhere that one of the big developers in FSX is currently working on the 787. So I think I'll wait for that to come out, and then I might have a look at it. I'm still kind of just getting to grips with flying the Airbus. I'm kind of figuring out how to fly that plane properly. Okay, so we're back down at 3,000 feet, so I'm just going to retrim the plane and just try and keep us at 3,000 feet until we get another gust of wind that will inevitably push us around. What's my PC specs? If you look at the About page on my channel, I've got all my PC specs there, but off the top of my head, it's a Core i7 for 770k, I think. It's definitely a Core i7, Intel Core i7. It's running on an Asus Sabertooth Mark II motherboard, Tough edition. I've got 60 gigs of Corsair Vengeance RAM. I've got I think a 120 SSD, 2 terabyte mechanical drive. What else have I got? That'll be important. And it's all an air-cooled system. I've got a Noctua 12-DN air cooler. It's not the prettiest looking cooler, but it's really, really good. The Noctua coolers are very, very good at being air coolers. So I would definitely recommend them. The case that I've got is a Fractal Design Define R4. because I didn't plan like my whole kind of it's all like a custom built computer, and my kind of idea for building it was because I built my previous computer, video card, of course, video card, Asus GTX 780 Ti, and it's one of Asus's custom edition ones, so it's got like a custom cooler on it, which keeps it nice and cold, and I think it might be factory overclocked as well. There you go, Musters copied it there. Yeah, my whole design philosophy, because I built my own computer when I was 18, and it was one of the kind of like your typical teenager, like it had neon lights, it had a big window in the side of it, I had like big kind of a big clear grate in the front of it, and the thing was noisy as hell. It literally sounded like a jet engine. So I thought, well, I want to build a nice powerful computer again, because I knew that I wanted to get into doing YouTube and making videos and sort of doing video rendering and stuff. So I wanted a powerful computer again, but I also wanted it to be quiet. So a lot of the decisions I made, like the case is big, it's heavy, but it's got like a lot of padding on all the panels to keep it nice and quiet. The Noctua cooler performs very well, and it's quiet. The graphics card, I got the one with the custom cooler because it's quiet. So the whole design philosophy was having a nice sleek design computer, very minimalistic, but it's very powerful under the bonnet. That was my whole kind of idea for building it, basically. A loch is basically Scottish for lake. So if you hear lochs anywhere, it's basically the Scottish word for a lake. So Loch anything is basically lake anything. Speaking of lochs, this is Loch Lochy that we're coming up to now. Again, this is on the Great Glen Fault. We're currently flying northeast up towards Inverness. So we passed over Loch Linnie, which is just north of Oban on the west coast of Scotland. I believe this is Loch Lochy that we're coming up to just now. And then further up the road we've got the famous Loch Ness, which I can't wait to fly over. Yeah, I mean you'll find a lot of places in Scotland, a lot of like names and places and things in Scotland are derived from Scottish Gaelic, which was like the kind of the native language up in the northern part of Scotland. So my hometown, for example, Inverness, you'll find a lot of places in Scotland are called Inver something, and the word Inver comes from the Scottish Gaelic. I think it's Inbhir. It's Inbhir. I'm not sure how to pronounce it properly, but the word Inver basically means on the river. So you'll find a lot of places will be Inver something. So Inverness, translated from Scottish Gaelic, is on the river Ness. There's a town north of Inverness called Invergordon, which is on the river Gordon. You've got Inverclyde, on the river Clyde. So a lot of places in Scotland are sort of derived from Scottish Gaelic. So it's quite traditional in that sense of the word. Literally. Fly low there, and we can look for Nessie. I will. I'll drop down a little bit once we get to Loch Ness, and we'll go hunting for Nessie there. Just trying to keep 3,000 feet at the moment. They're not doing that much of a good job, but it's fine. It's fine. Look at that hill. I'd love to go climbing up that hill. I've since I moved to London, like I don't know what it is, but the past year or so, when I've been living in, because I moved to London and I live and work in London now. Oh, is that Nessie down there? Yeah, let's have a quick look. No, it's just a bunch of trees. I think Nessie's trolling us, people. I think she's dragging trees into the water. Yeah, so I'm living in London at the moment, but I really just like, and I go back to Inverness every now and then on holiday. But I don't know what it is. I just really want to go climb a mountain for some reason. I really just kind of want to reconnect with nature in some way. So I want to go and climb a mountain. Um, oh, speaking of mountains, actually, that's another one. You'll see a lot of mountains in Scotland are called Ben something, um, and the Ben is the is translated from, I think it's Bean. It's Beinn, and that's a Scottish Gaelic word for mountain. So you'll have Ben Nevis is Mountain Nevis, and of course Nevis is translated from Gaelic as well. Um, I think Ben Nevis translated in Gaelic means something like Mountain of Heaven, or something like Head in the Clouds. I think there's a few translations of it. Um, but again, north of Inverness, there's another mountain called Ben Wyvis, which is translated, which is Mountain of Terror. I think it's called. It's translated as. So there's a lot of kind of bens and lochs and invers around Scotland. I think the plane is not patched. Probably isn't. I haven't checked for updates for quite a while on this plane. What the plane is, though, is it's too low, so I need to climb a little bit. Trim that up there. I mean, the little fluctuations in altitude, it's not a big deal, because normally, I believe if you're flying VFR, air traffic control don't really bother you when you're flying VFR, but they'll say, like, you can fly wherever you want, but don't fly above 4,000 feet or something. So you can fly at any altitude you want to, as long as it's not above or below what they say. So the little fluctuations in altitude here are not a big deal. All we're making sure is that we don't fly into a mountain, basically, or a ben. How far am I from Inverness? Probably about 60 miles, I would guess. I mean, this is Ben Nevis. Oh, jeez. This is Loch Ness coming up now. So I think Loch Ness is about 50 miles long. So yeah, it probably got maybe another half an hour worth of the flight to go. And I need to descend so we can look for Nessie as well. Hired a boat and cruised the Loch Ness for a week. Yeah, it's such a picturesque part of Scotland. It's absolutely beautiful. I love it. I miss it. What I used to do actually was I used to on occasion I used to go and drive like a lap of Loch Ness. So like Inverness is up here at the top end of Loch Ness, and there's a road, a main road, an A road, which kind of follows down the north side of the loch, and you can kind of wind your way along the side of Loch Ness to a town called Fort Augustus here at the bottom end. And then what I used to do is I would drive from Inverness down to the Fort Augustus, and then drive up through these hills, and it's all like B roads. It's all nice and quiet B roads, and it's fantastic because you can be a little bit liberal with your driving, shall we say. I'm officially going on record to say I did not break the speed limit by much, but yeah, like it's all B roads. It's all like nice and tight and twisty, and you're going through hills, and then you kind of pop out south of Inverness, and you can take the main road back into town from there. So it's a beautiful. I mean, the Scottish Highlands are just beautiful. When you've lived somewhere like London, where all you can see out the window is buildings and skyscrapers. Like a funny story. Like I never kind of got it. Like I never understood why people would come to Scotland and say it's so beautiful, because I was born and raised there. That was kind of all I knew. But I went to Florida on holiday when I was about 11 or 12, and Florida is just flat. Like it is a billiard table. Like the only thing you can see breaking the skyline in Florida is skyscrapers, because we went to like Disneyland, and we did the whole tour, like theme park thing, and but it was just like flat, completely flat. And we flew back home, and I remember we were driving from Glasgow back up to Inverness, and you're sort of driving through all of the hills out there. You're kind of winding your way through, through like central Scotland, and I remember looking out the window and you could see like, and it was sort of late at night and it was sunset, and like you could see like snow on the tops of the hills, and you know, like the sun lighting up the clouds and stuff, and like you could look out the side window and you could see like down valleys and stuff, and it's just like, right, now I get it. Now I understand why people think Scotland is beautiful, and like the like the beauty of the nature in Scotland, and like the shape of the land and everything. It's just like, and as I said, now living in London for 5 years, when the only thing you can see out the window is a building, I get it now, and and like I took it for granted when I was growing up, but I love going back there now. Let's have a look. What are people saying? Talking about computer specs. Yeah, I will do. As I said, what I plan on doing is like completely uninstalling FSX, just clearing out my registry and like just kind of nuking my computer and then reinstalling everything from brand new. Because you'll notice when we land at Inverness, the scenery is a little bit messed up. That's not a problem with Sim 720 scenery. That's a problem with my sim and my setup. But you'll see like some of the ground textures might glitch in and out. So I need to kind of like just wipe everything and then reinstall it from scratch again. Problem to land at an airport. Yeah, I'll try and explain what I'm doing when I'm coming into land. I don't know which runway I'm going to be landing on at Inverness yet, but when we get a bit closer, I'll try and do like a mini tutorial, and I'll try and explain what I'm doing as I'm going along. Before I read the next comment, here we are at Loch Ness, so let's descend a little bit and let's get down and have a look. Did we have a little boat down there? Yeah, I think that little white dot there is a little boat. Maybe they're searching for Nessie as well. Oh, was he sailing backwards just then? Right, come on, no, this way. Yeah, that's true. Yeah. Well, thankfully, sort of along this side of Loch Ness, like you've only got a couple of villages. But actually, saying that, my mate was an avid cyclist, and he did go cycling up and down those roads a few times. I ended up getting into a bit of a race with a Royal Mail van, actually, flying along these back streets one day. When I say flying, I mean driving, not actually flying. Bit like Norfolk then. Is Norfolk quite hilly? I'm not sure. My like geography is actually quite terrible. I only know how to fly this VFR because it's essentially a straight line. Yep, look, there's Nessie trolling us again, look. Putting trees in the water. That Loch Ness monster. Such a tease. I don't want to like descend too quickly, I'm not a fighter jet, so oh no, I'm not going to like nosedive and then pull out 10 feet off the water. And let's just hope my engine doesn't start messing up, because I don't really have many places to go if my engine was to crap out at this point. Flat like Florida. Alright, okay. Yeah, but like Florida is like just completely flat. Like they've got to be fair to them, they've got like the Everglades and that, where you can take like the the airboats, which is like just skimming across the water all the time. But when you compare it to somewhere like Scotland, they're like two completely different. It's just two completely different landscapes. Alright, so that's us coming down to about 1,000 feet, so I'm not going to go any lower than that. I think 1,000 feet is a good enough altitude to be going at there. Got another boat just down there. And who is it that took a boat out onto Loch Ness? Mojo, is that you down there? On the boat? Right, so put in a bit more power. Just level off at 1,000 feet here. What I'll do is once we hit Inverness, I'll climb back up to 2,000 feet because it gives me a better view of the airport, so I can kind of plan my approach a little bit better. $900 feet. No one's counting. Yeah, we'll show. Brilliant. Hey, Tazos, how's it going, bro? Sapphire Radeon. I'm not sure. I'm not familiar with the AMD and yeah, the AMD line of products. So like AMD processors and their graphics cards. I'm not familiar with it. I've always been a sort of Intel and Nvidia kind of guy, so can't help you with that. Another little sailboat down there. Hey, give us a wave. I wish I could sail. I'd love to sail down Loch Ness. That'd be awesome. Hey, it's got birds there as well. Let's not hit one of them. Good. Yeah, you can just about see that road. Now, it's not that extreme in real life, but you can see that kind of road running alongside there. That'll be Grand Environment X drawing that in. And as I said, it's not quite that extreme in real life. It's quite a nice road there. A few more boats. God, everyone's a bit of sunshine, and everyone's out looking for Nessie now. Just turn slightly, get away from that hill on the right. Macbeth's Castle. I don't know where Macbeth's Castle is. I know where one well, it's not shown in the simulator, but we're coming up on Dochgarach Castle. And I've got a fun little story for that when we get there as well. Macbeth's Castle. Where is that? No idea. There's a lot of like small castles dotted all over Scotland, so I don't know where many of them are. How bad is that? But yeah, speaking of castles, I'll start talking about it now actually. So you can see we've got a little indent of water here. So just in there, behind the hill there, is a town called Dochgarach, and they've got a castle here which sits on this little point of land. Now, as I said, it's not modelled in the sim, but yeah, there's a cool little castle there. And fun fact, one of the couple of times I have flown a real aircraft, I flew from Inverness. It was in a Piper Tomahawk. We flew from Inverness, which is just out in distance here. We flew down in the opposite direction, and we actually flew down a valley over Dochgarach and off in that direction. And it's a nice little sort of little loop to fly. I can't really show you it properly because I'm a bit too low down, but I'll try and climb up just now so you can get a better view over the tops of the hills and that. But basically, we came from Inverness. We almost get, well, I say we almost get hit by an EasyJet. We did air traffic control vectors us out of the way. But yeah, basically we took off from Inverness Airport, sort of heading towards the city. So coming from over here and flying down towards where we are now, and yeah, basically we had to turn shortly after takeoff because there's an EasyJet lining up behind us, which was which which won basically in the sky. So, but yeah, we flew down towards where we are now, to Loch here, and then we flew down. And let me try and get a better view. We flew sort of down this valley here, and then we did a sharp right turn and we flew behind this hill, and then we come up. We sort of fly back towards Inverness behind on the other side of this kind of this hill here, or this kind of part of land, over a stretch of water that you can't really see called the Beauly Firth. So Orbex scenery. Okay. I have been thinking about getting Orbex scenery because this, like Unreal Terrain X and Grand Environment X, I got that when I had the original boxed version of FSX, and they were fantastic with the boxed version, but with the Steam version they don't quite work perfectly. The definition that they give is much better than the standard scenery, but like for example up in Inverness, Ground Environment Extreme was brilliant because it mapped out like all of the roads very, very accurately, and I remember taking a helicopter and actually flying and following the roads that I would, if I was to drive home from the airport to where I lived, I could actually take a helicopter and fly over the same roads and follow the path to get to my house, which was that's how accurate it was. But with FSX Steam Edition, it isn't quite there. So I've been thinking about getting Orbex scenery and seeing how that looks, and trying that out. Do I know X-Plane 10? I do actually have the X-Plane 10 demo, but because of the time limit, I haven't really had enough time to kind of get into the game and really sort of play with it in detail. So I'm not sure. I mean, I did play around with FSX ages and ages and ages ago, and I struggled a little bit with it, to be honest. I mean, yeah, the user interface, while it kind of gives you everything you need to set up the simulator as you want it, it's still quite, it's quite full on, yeah, I struggled with it, to be honest. I mean, again, that was only the demo version. I cannot really justify paying to buy the full version at the moment, because everything that I want to do and everything I need within flight simulation I can get with FSX, which is the more supported platform anyway. So I don't really have any reason to buy FSX or to buy X-Plane and play with X-Plane at the moment. Right, so we are coming up to Inverness now. So the stretch of water that you can see here is the Moray Firth, and then beyond that is the North Sea. We've got the airport there, which I can sort of make out now. I don't know if it's clear for you guys on the stream, but I can see the airport there now, and I can tell that we're getting there because the frame rate is starting to play up a little bit. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to check Active Sky next and see what the weather is doing at Inverness. From 3:20 to... Okay, so... Okay, so we're going to be flying straight into Inverness. So we'll be landing on runway 5, so that's fine. So we're just going to make a beeline for the airport, basically. Whoops. Okay, so what I'll try and do is I'll try and talk in detail about what I'm doing as I do the approach and do the landing to help out a few people who might need a bit of assistance with learning how to fly. Point Orbex. Ah, okay. Thanks for that, Rupert. I didn't know that. Thanks for pointing that out. I will definitely look into that. Thank you very much. End of May. I might have to wait till payday to pick that up then, because I've got a lot on this month. Like, my car needs to be MOT'd, it needs to be taxed. I need to renew my driving license. It's just all this money that I need to spend this month, and it's scary. Right, so hopefully you guys, I don't know if the quality will be good enough on the stream, but the airport is just there, or the runway is just there. So basically I'm just going to sort of line up with it from a distance, and because this plane is only a small plane, I can kind of get away with with keeping the speed up until we're getting relatively close. But at a distance of about 6 nautical miles, you want to be about 2,000 feet. 2,000 feet is a good altitude to start approaching an airport at. At the moment, we're about maybe 8-9 nautical miles, just as a guesstimate. But what I will do is I will start bringing the throttle down and start bringing the airspeed back to about 100 knots. I'll try and keep the altitude where it is, but I'm just going to want to bring the speed down just a little bit. Because the earlier you can get kind of set up and lined up with the runway and get your speed down and get everything under control, the earlier you can do all of that, the better. Have I ever flown a real aircraft? Yes, I have. I've flown a couple of times out of Inverness Airport. I've flown a Piper Tomahawk, PA-38 I think it is, the Tomahawk. I've flown the Piper Tomahawk twice out of Inverness, and also around central Scotland I flew a Diamond Katana around central Scotland for an hour as well. So in real aircraft I've done about 2.5 hours flying in real aircraft, but that was like when I was maybe that was when I was sort of maybe early to mid-teens. I haven't flown any real aircraft recently, although I'd love to try gliding. Let's see how that goes. Right, so now I'm about 6 nautical miles away, so I'm going to just slowly let the plane begin to descend. I'm not going to worry about flaps or anything yet, because we're still, for this aircraft, it will slow down very quickly. But if you were in a commercial aircraft at this distance, your flaps would be deployed, your landing gear would be out, you'll be well established for, or well prepared for landing. If you were in like a commercial jet, like an Airbus A319 or something. Before a light aircraft like this, you can keep the speed up and you can keep the flaps up until you get a bit closer, about maybe another half of the distance to the runway there. And it's quite tricky because I've got this add-on scenery. The PAPI lights, the red and white lights on the side of the runway don't show up until quite late, so I don't know if I'm at a good height or not. But basically, on runways you'll have red and white lights on the side of the runway. What you want to do is make sure that you have an equal number of red and white lights. So usually it'll be 2 red lights and 2 white lights. That means that you're bang on track. If you can only see red lights, that means you're too low, and if you can only see white lights, that means you're too high. So that kind of gives you like a visual guide as to how high you should be given your distance from the runway. So I'm just kind of doing this based on kind of sight at the moment, and I think I'm okay. As I said, because it's add-on scenery, the lights won't show up until quite later. And as I said, if you see any issues with the scenery, it's not it's not a problem with the scenery itself, the add-on itself. It's my simulator. It's a little bit messed up. I think I'm a bit too low now. Yeah, if you see any issues with the scenery there, it's my sim. I need to sort it all out. Ooh, Cherokee in a thunderstorm. That must have been exciting. Right, so we're probably about 3 miles out from the airport now, so I'm going to put the first stage of flaps out there. You can just about see the lights on the runway there, so it looks like we've got 4 white lights, so I'm a little bit high at the moment. So we'll just reduce the throttle. starting to descend a little bit quicker. I think I'm quite a bit higher now. So when you're approaching runway, you want to kind of control the speed with your pitch. So if you think that you're going too fast, lift the nose. If you think you're going too slow, push the nose down. And if you think you're too high, reduce the throttle. If you think you're too low, then increase the throttle. So your throttle kind of controls your altitude, if that makes sense, and your pitch controls how fast you're going. So we want to be touching it down at about 60 knots, I think, 65 to 60 knots. And because I'm too high, so I've got the throttle down quite low now. So we're just trying to like balance the throttle and balance the pitch there. So we've got wind coming from the left-hand side, so it's a bit of a crosswind as well. So I'm just kind of crabbing at the moment, so you can see the nose is kind of pointing to the left of the runway. That's because that's where the wind is coming from there. That's still too high, but in a GA aircraft, you know, you're not. It's not too drastic. You can get away with being a bit too high, a bit too low. It's not a big deal. And no, that is not an excuse for my bad flying. We'll try and put it down on the runway here. So speed is good. Approach is good. We'll just try and get over the centre line there. So just throttle idle. We'll lift the nose up to flare the aircraft, just to make sure that the back wheels touch down first. This aircraft loves to float down the runway. Come on. There we go. And we're down. Now have to fight to keep it in a straight line. And there we are, we're down at Inverness. And I just realised I completely forgot to do anything with the landing lights or that. But I think we can get away with it. Right, let's turn it around. And we'll head down to parking. Okay, so we'll bring the flaps up. Don't really need a taxi light, but we can get rid of these strobe lights there as well. We don't really need to do anything else to clean up the aircraft. We'll just head down to parking, park up, and get the engine switched off. Oh, thank you for the nice landing there. I floated down the runway way too much, but again, in the GA aircraft, you're not really you don't really need to worry about it too much. If I was doing it for real, and if I was being sort of examined for like my private pilot's license, for example, I'd probably get marked down for that, for floating it down the runway way too far. But it's just a sim. It's just a bit of fun, you know. It's just a nice, gentle, relaxing weekend VFR flight. That's all. And yeah, it was just about an hour and 15 minutes. So that was including pre-flight checks as well. So quite good. Nice little jaunt. So yeah, so here you can see the ground is a little messed up. As is, again, just to reiterate, that's not this add-on scenery. The scenery is from Sim 720. They reached out to me and very kindly gifted me the scenery, which was very generous of them. Barry from Sim 720, thank you very much. I do appreciate it. Yeah, so they kind of offered the scenery to me, so I'm flying with that. But as I said, like the issues that you see are not with the scenery. The scenery has been working for me. It's just like I've messed up my simulator with add-ons and trying to do bits and pieces, so I need to reinstall that. But the scenery itself is very good. I actually worked at Inverness Airport for 6 months as a baggage handler, and I can attest that the scenery is very accurate to the real airport there. So we'll just bring it to a stop in front of the GA buildings here. So throttle idle, fuel out. So we'll turn all the radios off. I don't know how to turn the autopilot off. Ignition to off, earphones out, I will turn the battery off. There we go. Flight completed. So, so that's it. Okay. When are we finishing the stream? Now, kind of. Yeah, I didn't plan like to do any more than this. I've got things that I need to do today. I've got people I need to go and see. So, sadly, I'm not going to be doing a return leg or another kind of VFR flight today. But this seems to be the most popular stream that I've done on YouTube. So if you guys are interested in seeing more like this, let me know. Because I'd love to do more little kind of little more VFR flights like this. Hey dude, are you okay there? He's holding his hips like something's wrong. But yeah, I wouldn't mind doing kind of more like little VFR flights like this. There we go. Get a few of the aircraft in the background there. Yeah, well, I'd love to do a few more flights like this. Hey Luke, good to have you along. I'm sorry that you've kind of joined me just as I'm finishing up the stream here, but I'm glad you came along anyway. It's good to see you there. Nicely timed F1 qualifying about to start. I'm not a fan of F1 anymore. I'm gonna be honest, but I'm glad I did. That was completely unintentional, but I'm glad. I'm glad you spent your morning watching me. So thank you very much for coming along, Mojo. Final challenge. Say my name. Catherine. Oh jeez. Catharesh? Catharesh, is that right? Not sure if that's right. Roman has to go. Thank you for coming along, Roman. It's been good having you along. And thanks for sort of commenting. And I think you helped me out with letting me know that the stream was a good quality as well. So thank you for that. Thank you for coming. I'm glad you were watching. No planes. Good to see you, buddy. Yep, more flights. Yep, okay. Is Saturday morning popular with everyone? Because I know that I know it would be good for people in Europe and watching, and maybe sort of out in Asia as well. I think it'll be kind of night time for you guys now. So, I mean, this is certainly the kind of the busiest stream that I've done. I've streamed once on Twitch as well, but that was late at night. But yeah, showing off the typical Scottish weather. Never rains here. Yeah, I'm surprised. I'm surprised it's not raining at the moment. It looks like a beautiful day up the road. I wish I was there. It's probably cold though. Wait, hang on. What's the temperature? I bet it's a beautiful day, but I bet it's very cold up there. 12 degrees. That is not bad. Oh, now I feel homesick. Yes, I got the name right. Got a good landing. I got someone's name right. This is turning out to be a great day. Good, because I didn't have the best start to the day, but this is turning out to be a great day now. So yes, get in. Awesome stream. Thank you very much. I'm glad you came along to watch, and I'm glad that I did the whole stream justice, and I'm glad that it was interesting enough to keep people watching. Right, okay. Is the Asus GT 730 good for FSX? 730. You should be okay with that. I mean, FSX is like 10 years old now. So I don't think FSX was ever graphically intense. It's more of a CPU intensive program. So I think if you're designing a computer specifically to play FSX, you might want to look at CPUs, because having a good CPU will help the simulator run well. But any kind of decent kind of gaming setup that you have for a computer in the modern time should run FSX fine. You can eke out a little bit more performance if you tweak FSX, if you adjust a few settings. You can get the simulator running. You can eke out maybe an extra few frames per second and not lose too much graphical quality. But yeah, I know that FS6 is more of a CPU intense program than it is graphics card, or it's more on the graphics card. Mojo, catch you later, buddy. Thank you very much for coming along and for sailing on Loch Ness. Let me know if you find Nessie at all. Um, right, and I think that's about it for. I think I caught up on all the comments. So I'm going to leave it there now. To everyone who watched, thank you very much. It was really good to have you along. I hope that flying up the Great Glen Fault was interesting. Um, if you've got any kind of other flights that you'd like to see me maybe do during the live stream, please let me know. The video should go up on the channel, so you can leave comments on that once it's processed and once everything's done there. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to round this out now with a little bit of music. So thank you everyone for watching. Take care out there, and I will catch you later.